Welcome to the NAMB podcast, where we bring you the voices that drive the mortgage industry. Join dynamic hosts Ginger Bell and Matt Shields as they dive into bold conversations with top experts, industry leaders, and change makers from across the country. From insider insights to game-changing trends, this is your front row seat to what's happening right now in the world of home finance.
Well, hi there. Welcome to another episode of the NAMB podcast. My name is Ginger Bell, and I have my co-host with me, Matt Shields. How are you today, Matt?
Ginger, I'm doing great, and I love that we got two of our favorite guests of the show back on here so soon.
Absolutely. And so let's go ahead and introduce our guests. And so we have Lauren Patterson, who is on our NAMB board and also our vice chair for our Government Affairs Committee. Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Ginger. Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me again. Love being on this show with you.
Absolutely. And then we have Marvin Hudson, who is also on our NAMB board of directors and our Government Affairs chair. So Marvin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Ginger. Thank you for having me again, having us again. Matt, good to see you again. Thank you for having us.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
So we thought today we would really get to know Lauren and Marvin a little bit better. And I want to start off with, really what inspired you to not just get into the industry. And Lauren, I'm going to start with you, but not just get into the industry, but what inspired you to really dive into this profession? Because sometimes we get into something we're doing quite by accident, and then all of a sudden we find a passion. For me, it was that way in the mortgage industry. I happened into it quite by accident. A friend asked me to, join his company, and then I found a passion for it. So for you, what happened for you to find that passion for being involved in this industry?
It's funny that you talk about, you tell the story about how you came to be in the industry. I got into the industry out of curiosity. I had gone through the home buying process in Arizona. This was back in the early 90s. It was a horrible experience. And then I moved back to Salt Lake City, and a friend owned an independent mortgage banking company. And at that time, rates were coming down from double digits. And I think they were down, the low at that point was 7.5. And refinances were all over the place. FHA streamlines were big at that point. And they said, why don't you come into the industry? And I thought, you know what goes on behind the Wizard of Oz curtain in this business? And so I got into it out of curiosity because I wanted to see what it was really like and if it was truly that difficult and what happened. And that was the genesis that got me into the business. From there, I then started developing a passion when I realized that it wasn't that much of a secret as to what happened behind the scenes, right? That there were some pretty simple, straightforward things that you could do. Communication, being open, being authentic, explaining things, going into detail, and then just taking a vested interest in both your referral partners and your clients. And then my business started to build. I didn't know anybody in the market when I moved back into it, right? Everybody that I worked with either went to high school here, went to college here, so they had this massive network of people that they knew. And I didn't. So I just went out, the way that we used to do it, boots on the street. You'd go take your rate sheets and go do coffee and donuts and call around and open houses at real estate offices and take them pizzas when they were doing call arounds.
Right.
And I just built relationships that way. But I really started developing a passion for the intricacies of the business and the structure component of it and being an advisor for people versus just simply selling money to people.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think, having an understanding of what, pivots from just, having a job to actually having a career, a passion, being an advisor, you talk about that. And I think that's so important. And you can tell the difference from people who are of that mindset of being an advisor as opposed to those who are simply a salesperson, taking an order, moving on to the next one. And so, Marvin, for you, the same. I mean, you're in California. California, obviously, a very competitive market. And you have been involved in the industry for a long time. What was it for you? What was that pivot for you where you said, this is more than just a job I'm going to do. This is this is my career, this is my passion?
That's an interesting question because of how many of us got into it, which was in many cases not our intended goal, but we ended up in it. And it was after a few years where I realized I was with my second lender at that point, and because of the impact our company was having on the local market, that's when I realized that this is not just a job, it's a career for Marvin Hudson. So once I recognized that is when I first got involved with, at that time, CAMB, California Association of Mortgage Brokers, right? And got involved with a couple different local associations of realtors. So it was that point, which was in the late 80s, when that really began for me. Yeah. And I'd already been in for a few years. So wow. Okay. But it was with that recognition of it being a career, and then further understanding, becoming aware of and understanding some of the challenges. I was about to say many, but some of the challenges that our industry faces day in, day out, year in, year out. And more importantly, how those challenges could be addressed legislatively. It was the owner of one of the two owners of that second company, that helped educate me about how the first identified problems, and then how they'd like to see problems fixed, and how that person had gone about trying to get some of those problems fixed. So that's when I had that insight, and it was that first awareness and then the actual engagement with meetings that actually helped get me really going into it a little more definitively, I think is probably the word.
I love that both of you said that. No one ever really, what I've found out, is looks to get into the mortgage business. There's always a way you kind of get in. It's never been the plan. I have a similar aspect to that, but that's I always love hearing someone's story.
Yeah, because you got in quite by accident too, Matt.
Very, very much so. I was working full time, paying for school full time. I was bartending at a golf club, and then my regular at the time was Michael Farrell, who you guys know. Mike's the one who got me into business back in 2012.
I see.
Wow.
So you came in already good at this. You should try it out. And I was looking for any opportunity at the time. And then just first day in, like, wow, this is amazing. This is what I'm doing from now on. I dropped out of school 2 days later.
Practice communication skills in that position, right?
That's a good foundation. Yeah. Well, and you think about, Matt, because you head up our NAMB Young Professionals, and we're seeing it now, and you probably know that there are people that are coming into the industry very intentionally. What happened for a lot of us quite by accident, we're seeing people that are intentionally coming in to the industry, and even from college, where they are getting, those degrees in finance, and saying that they are wanting to do that. I remember talking to someone several years ago who was under 30 when she got in, and she started in college and was working part-time. And she said she would find herself at, parties talking to people. It's like, what's your credit score? And are you thinking about buying? She goes, okay, now I knew I needed to do this. Because, when you start doing that, it's like, it's success leaves clues, right? So it's like when you start having those conversations and you kind of find that passion. And so for our young professionals who are listening to this, what advice, and Lauren, I'll start with you. What advice do you give to someone to stick with it? Because, Marvin, you said there are times that are difficult, right? In this industry, there are challenges that we have, and in any industry. But, what should someone focus on getting started in this industry that can help them to continue on and to have success?
That's a really, really good question. I was fortunate back when I was just a youngin', and I worked with somebody who'd been around for a long time, and he gave me some of the best and most sound advice I'd ever gotten. And he said, as you go through your career, you're going to be in different levels or phases. He said, think of it as 101, 201, 301, 401, 501, and then you're going to graduate and you can either get a master's or a PhD. He said, that's where I want you to aspire to be. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. And then he said, as you go through this journey, he said, please keep this in mind. He said, most people in our industry, when they're working on files, when they get to a challenging spot or a fork in the road, they call the underwriter, they call somebody up in operations, and they'll rant and they'll rave and they'll scream and they'll throw their hands up in the air and they'll say, do you know who I am? Do you know how much business I do, et cetera. This was the way that he told the story. And he said, make sure that you know the guidelines better than any underwriter you're going to speak to before you pick up that phone and have the call. And that stuck with me. And so I actually also at one point in my career got my FHAD. I underwrote. I ran secondary marketing as well. I worked in capital markets. And it was really, my passion came from learning all those different aspects to the business. And I'm a guideline junkie. I actually like reading. I do. But I think that was the advice that he gave me early on. And that stuck with me all the way through. He said, that will be an area where you can create separation in your market. He said, that's an area where you'll become a true professional, not just somebody out there slinging rate sheets and taking applications. And so that was really, I think, Ginger, the point where I said, okay, here's my task and here's my mission and here's the path I'm going to go down now. And this is how I'm going to measure my journey through the industry this way.
I love that. Yeah, and being a guideline junkie is important.
Very much so.
Because it definitely gives you leverage. The nice thing now, Lauren, is we have a lot of tools like, we have Citra, which is one of our partners with NAMB.
Yep.
You don't have to be that guideline junkie. You can actually just put it into AI and it'll junkie back to you.
Yeah, and that's been the wonderful thing that's been happening with our industry with technology coming out. Is, it used to be that you would read through the HUD handbook, the 4506, or not the FHA handbook. You'd read through the VA handbook. You'd read through Fannie Fred. Then these were actually printed manuals, right?
Right.
That we would start reading through. And I was like, oh boy. And I'd take them home at night and I'd sit there and my family, like, what are you doing? I'm reading underwriting guidelines, man. This is fun stuff. I mean,
You geek.
I don't know that it was, but it put you in the position where now when you were out, doing the call arounds and doing pizza nights at real estate offices, when somebody had a question, then you knew what the guideline was. And I found that to be very powerful. And people would say, oh, go check with LP. He knows the guideline on this. Well, the pun in the office was loan prospector and my initials, Lauren Patterson. They'd be, go check with LP. And that kind of became a euphemism and a joke that would go around the office. But it did end up being very beneficial throughout my career.
I love that.
And this is a great opportunity to plug exactly that, the NAMB app, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Because listeners, getting that NAMB app, you can actually have immediate access through a couple of taps directly to underwriting guidelines. So grab the NAMB app.
Yeah, exactly. It has made it super user friendly, and that NAMB app and with the AI and guidelines there, it's really cool because you can literally be anywhere as long as you've got web connectivity. You can jump on there, ask it questions, and it will come back. It's not like using a generic AI tool either, which is really cool. This is industry focused and industry specific, which not all AI that's out there is at this point.
Right.
Yep. Very good. So Marvin, how about for you? What's that one thing that individuals getting into the industry, should focus on to make sure to get not just get started quickly, but have that long-term success? Because, that's the whole thing. It's like, for you, our career, individuals in the mortgage industry, your advisors. And I think for those who are getting started, they want to segue into that. They want to be able to have that. And so what's the one thing that they need to do in order to make sure and get down that path?
So speaking directly from that experience, I would really recommend, and we're already seeing it exampled with those who are participating in the young professionals. I would really recommend getting engaged with your local association and truly associations. One is your local office, state association chapter of your mortgage professionals. Another, though, because that will help you with your education, right? Your professional informed position that you are employing on a daily basis. Another, though, association, quite honestly, is what has worked for many of us that I know of, is that when you get engaged also with your local association of realtors, you're building relationships there. People get to know you one-to-one on a regular basis. And that has helped. Time and time again, I have witnessed that growth, and it doesn't come directly and only from those realtors, but business also comes from your title reps. Business also comes from those who represent escrow companies. If it's not the officer, they may have a biz dev person there. Business comes to you from a variety of sources. So also getting engaged with those associations and those affiliates at those associations can also help you in your business side.
It's all about the relationships. As you're getting in, it's the more people you know and the more relationships you have, the easier your life's going to be.
So true. And I think it's also important to diversify those channels that you have, right? Various states in Utah, it's called ALTA, which is a Utah Land Title Association. And so that's where there's a lot of things that will happen. And that's sort of the equivalent to NAMB or the Utah Association of Mortgage Professionals, or Marvin in your state, CAMP, which is the California Association of Mortgage Professionals. They can be a wonderful resource, and there'll be many great people that you meet there. I also think that it's important for people that are starting out, whether you're starting out or actually whether you've been around for a number of years. Everybody, we've got our agent relationships, our real estate partners that we work with. Have some CPAs and some financial planners in your mix as well. Attorneys, okay, real estate attorneys and divorce attorneys are also great to have from a business standpoint. Your past client networks, obviously, that's something that you always want to nurture. But as you develop those different channels of business development, then when one's working or when one's slowed down, the others are still there. Real estate investor associations are also a great place to go to meet relationships or to develop relationships and meet people, because your real estate investors and your flippers, it doesn't matter what the market's doing. Rates can be low, rates can be high. They're still busy buying properties, flipping properties, rehabbing properties. So not only will they then sell them to a new buyer, a lot of them will rehab it and then decide to keep it as a rental, and they need financing to pay off their hard money loans as well. So as you start to diversify that way, you're not reliant on just one channel. You can keep them all going, and that's where the consistency will come from.
And great point information shared, Lauren. And because you said that, it causes me to also think about adding on to what I just said relative to getting involved in that local association that has a variety of other different fields. And that is coming at that association, participating in that association with a particular focus, whether it be education, different on the events side, the GA side, which I can speak to, Lauren can speak to very definitively. When you're bringing that to that association, you've got cross-pollination. And with that, it helps establish you as a go-to professional in the field. And with that level of respect earned, you get the opportunity to demonstrate what you can do as your employed MLO. So thank you for saying that, Lauren, because I don't think without you saying that, I would have added that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, and having that credibility of being involved with an association, whether it's on a state or a national level, that's something that's important to bring into the conversations, to use in your signature, to use in your marketing, to let people know that you are involved. And I think that's, part of the goal for NAMB is, as we are spreading the word of NAMB and what NAMB does, to be able to let others know that they should be involved with their association. They should be a member of their association. And that lends that credibility, right? And so I don't want to get off this this recording without us talking, because this will be aired before we get ready to go to our lobby days in April. So I want to encourage those who are listening, there's time to register. And so tell us about what's happening, because, NAMB has for years done an amazing job lobbying. Some years we have a lot of work to do. Some years we're paying attention to certain things, and that's what you all do on the GA board, to be able to keep those aware. I know the sugar leads, we just had that came into implementation on March 5th, which was a 7-year battle. We've talked about that in previous ones, but tell me a little bit about, for those who are listening, why they should attend. We have our advocacy and action days followed by a lobby days, and what they can expect and what they can get out of it.
Okay. Lauren, let me say this part about some of the topics being covered, and then you can speak to some aspect of that on the legislative and regulatory invitees. So I would like everybody to know, since this is a podcast that includes the GA side of it, I just want to make sure that those listeners know about our promotion of, support of, and will have hopefully seen, or they can go to our NAMB.org website and see our white paper and our talking points. But we are heavily engaged in it and would love for that support from where you are, maybe locally. You can go to your federal representative, your senator, and maybe speak to their staff. Been there a little bit, as far as the two bills go, especially on the House side. We've got 6644 that we're looking at. That's Housing for the 21st Century Act. And on the Senate side, we've got 2651, which is the Road to Housing. And we have, if you take that opportunity to go to NAMB.org and check out that white paper, even if you just read the 2-page summary, I believe we have, you will get a synopsis of what are covered in our overall initiatives, and you'll see how the information in the proposed changes that 6644 and 2651 bring into effect. So that said, know that those are 2 things to follow or speak of highly when you have the listening audience. That's what I want to really promote. Or you want to talk about the event?
Absolutely. Great points. I think that, and I'm fortunate to serve on GA with Marvin this year, and we did again the year before, which has been really, really wonderful. I think a lot of us initially get a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Overwhelmed with the GA side, and it becomes something that we view as kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
When you see, last night was the State of the Nation. Senators, congressmen are in the hall, and when you think about, I'm going to DC, I'm going to a legislative event, and I'm going to be talking to those people. Right? It's sweaty palms and marbles in your mouth, and you're kind of.
I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to do the wrong thing.
And it's really something that it's advocacy and the GA side of things. If we're not passionate about it, and if we're not involved in it from a grassroots level, and if we don't take a vested interest in it for the industry, changes will end up happening that will not be for the benefit of those that we serve or the industry that we serve in. And what advocacy does is it gives us an opportunity for them to hear the voices from the people that are on the streets, that are in the communities, that are in the neighborhoods, that are working hand in hand with clients. And our elected officials will often say, we really prefer and we like hearing from you as practitioners, because we see exactly what's happening, and you can tell us from the front lines what this really means, right? Because in Washington, there's a lot of money that's there and a lot of influence that happens. For us as an industry professional and from a practitioner standpoint, there's the influence that we have is just, here's what we know, here's what we've seen, here's what happens, and this is what this will do. So get involved early. Don't let it be something that becomes overly daunting to you. There's a lot of people in the industry that have done it before that are more than happy and willing to help, right? And to give you some pointers. And there's a lot of camaraderie that happens there. And once you go and spend that first time in DC, and you're on the Hill, and you're in the halls of Congress, and you're in the halls of the Senate offices, it really does change the way that you see things. And it really just does change your perspective on how the whole process works. And it was the GA side of things that really became the energy behind what I was doing, or the passion that I had for it, because I wanted to be involved on a level where I wasn't simply reacting to changes that came out, which is what we typically do, right, as loan officers. Can you believe they just passed that? Oh my goodness, look what this is going to do. Being able to have the conversations on the front side with people and stakeholders that have a genuinely vested interest in hearing from us and who do want to make it better, and the agencies, right? We're talking with all the different agencies all the time throughout the year, and they'll ask us for our input and advice on certain things. That's the part that for me became meaningful. Working with my clients, making homeownership a reality for people, giving them great advice and helping them that way is a passion of mine as well. And that's never going to go away. But being able to work on the legislative and the regulatory side of it and have some input and some impact there, that was the legacy part for me, right? Because long after I'm gone, being able to say that, hey, this is what I actually was able to contribute to the industry, that was something for me personally and professionally that I wanted to do and undertake.
I love that. And so for anyone who is wanting to get more involved, to find out what this is that Lauren and Marvin are talking about on the ledge side, the government affairs side, don't hesitate to reach out to them. I mean, the contact information is on the NAMB website. You can go there, say, hey, I have more questions. Talk to Matt. And, Matt, I know you just had Marvin and Lauren on your last Young Professional call, because, I mean, that's part of what happens, right, is to be able to find that passion. But if you are, two takeaways. First of all, the NAMB app. If you're not using the NAMB app, get the NAMB app. You can find it at the NAMB.org. It's under resources. And then the second thing is, if you are interested in being a part of our Advocacy and Action Day or Lobby Day, go to NAMB.org, and it's under our government affairs. There's a white paper there, Marvin, that you spoke about. So get involved, find out what that information looks like, and reach out to us and let us know. And then, of course, find that passion. So, I know that you both have an amazing passion for this industry. It comes through when you talk, through your service. So I thank you for that. And thank you for sharing that. That really means a lot.
Oh,
thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Very much.
I think the white papers as well that Marvin referred to are super important. I would encourage everybody to go grab those and download them, because that will give you a foundation that you can then talk to people about too. And by having those discussions and by having that information, it also will give you an additional level of credibility and expertise within your sphere that a lot of your competition doesn't have. And both your clients and referral partners then will also look at you in a different light and say, here's somebody who's really going deep as a professional in this industry. And this is somebody that I want to stay close with. And this is somebody that I want helping my clients too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been a great opportunity to hear more from you as far as your passion and what has led you to where you are in your success. So I thank you for sharing that. And Matt, thank you as always for being my co-host. And make sure and follow, like, and subscribe. You can find us at nambpodcast.com. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the NAMB podcast, brought to you by the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. For more episodes, resources, and guest interviews, visit nambpodcast.com. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you soon.